Hi everybody, it's Miss McLeod here, and today we are going to do a lesson on using the geometric patterns that we learned with our Islamic art and turning it into something that looks like this and making it into something that looks like this. I'm just going to turn this around so you can see all the different angles. Now you'll see that in my using this grid that I have provided you, some of you will have a different kind of grid. There were a few choices that you've been given, but I'm going to work with this grid here. And you can see that it is an 8.5 by 11 size piece of paper with a grid all drawn out, and boy oh boy are there a lot of shapes on here, right? And remember when we talked about the Islamic geometric patterns that there's lots of symmetry and patterns that are repeated. We always have to follow colored patterns. But for this art, what we're going to do is look at the shapes that are here and not use every single shape, but kind of lump them together into larger shapes. So this is made on the same geometric pattern. And you notice I have some different animals here. The little fox. I have a gray cat. I don't know, maybe it's a koala bear, I'm not sure. And those are his paws. I also have lots of fish. So what I've done here is I've taken, you'll see that there are the smaller shapes in there, but I'm outlining only larger shapes and turning them into animals or images that I see. And I've done that everywhere I can. Now, what I also have done is made sure that I have symmetry. So remember, symmetry is when you have exactly the same thing. If I take these two red fish, for instance, if I put my pencil down the middle, then the red fish looks exactly like this red fish. It's like a mirror image. Here I have, if I put my line between these two little blue fish, it's exactly the same image on both sides. Okay, so we have symmetry here as well as here. What I've done here with the fox and the cat is I started actually, while I was looking at this, I saw the fox kind of right away. I looked for an animal to create. That was kind of my focus. And I took those triangles and I made them larger, and I just traced using my pencil, tried to kind of turn it into an animal. So that's what I did. Okay. And once I did that, I colored it in, and that really helped me see that fox a little better. But then I had this space in between the foxes. And I thought, wow, if I turn that upside down, I see that I have another image. I have another animal. I thought, those look like ears, and this looks like the side of the face, and these look like paws crossing or together. And so I actually outlined that and colored that into another color, and I also added a nose and two eyes and some paws, and it turned into a new creature using the space between the fox. And you can see there's a pattern here, right? So again, there's symmetry, but it's a bigger symmetry. If I drew a line right down the middle of the fox, then this and this side would be exactly the same. Likewise, if I drew a line right down the middle of the cat, then this side and this side would be the same. So there's still symmetry happening. Now my work isn't completely done because I still have these spaces here that I haven't done anything with. So I'm going to work on that and try to figure out what I'm going to put in those spaces. Maybe it'll be another fish. Maybe this will be like a ball it's playing with. I'm not sure. So I got to figure out what that's going to be. Maybe I'll do a turtle there. I'm going to try to think about what kind of animal I'm going to create. All right, so I'm trying to use up all my space. So when you're doing your art like this, you'll get a paper that looks like this, and you can see there's the grid is everywhere. Your grid might look different, a little bit different than this. But how to start, it's kind of overwhelming when you start. Take a pencil and start looking for something that you see in your art. I'm going to do a little bit right now. Okay, so I saw these faces. I'm kind of going along this animal theme, and you can see I found two ears and kind of the pointed nose of maybe a fox. And if I look at the next step, I think I could draw another one by outlining right here. So I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to flip it upside down. So what I've done is I added one more. I'll call it a fox head because it looks like the head of a fox. I added one here, and then I flipped my paper over and I saw that the space between the ears created a new fox head over here. And so I've traced that, and I'm not worrying about all the little lines in the middle. They're not important. I'm going to color over those anyway. They'll kind of disappear, all right? Just like it did over here. So you see how all of those little squares or triangles, they disappeared when I colored over top. They're not important. So the same thing will happen here. So that's what I want you to do. I want you to take your paper, your geometric shapes, and I want you to search for something that kind of pops out at you. Trace over the lines of the image that seem to remind you of a picture or a shape of a creature, and only outline the stuff that actually helps you see that, okay? So I'm using my pencil to do that. The next step I'm going to take is I'm going to add color to this to make those objects really pop out. So now that I did some coloring, of course I would do this for all the rest of the foxes. I just done a little bit of that today for you to show you. So of course I would do more of those foxes as I carry on. But today I'm just going to show you a few of them. You get the idea. The next thing I'm going to do is add my little details to make the creature look more like a creature. Right. Oh, maybe they look more like dogs. All right, so I'm just adding a few details, just some eyes and the nose. And I'm going to do that, of course, for all of the foxes. So you need to be consistent and do the kind of same thing. However, if you want to be a little weird, you could also change their emotion. You could make it their noses maybe a different color, or their eyes. Maybe some are sleeping, some of them are angry. You can adjust, you can change it. You can be more original than I am right now. I'm just doing the same thing for each of my creatures. But maybe I do something different, like one of them's sleeping. Okay, so you would do this with all of them. And you know what? Just like when I did this first design, I stuck with some cats and foxes, but then I saw fish, and then my fish kind of changed to little fish. So you can do the same thing too. Look for the bigger shapes that are created from the smaller shapes and create your own design. And that is a variation of our Islamic geometric art.